Hey friends, how we doing? I'm Ken. I mean, you should know that because you're my Facebook friend. But I'm sometimes known as Feldegast. But the other night I came on quite late and read some poems, and folks seemed to like it. So as it rains now, it was snowing earlier here in Connecticut, and as we're stuck inside, I thought I would come back on and read some more poems for anyone who might care to listen. So I don't know if anyone's out there yet, but if you are, um, and you have any requests, I'll see if I can do it. I've only got one book poetry here with me, but I'm going to start reading and read for a little while. And if you have any questions or comments, I'm watching the feed, although I can't really see who's on unless you comment or anything. It doesn't seem to show me who's there. But let's see what we can do here. Let's start with some A.E. Houseman, a wonderful poet who died in 1936. But here's a poem I've always enjoyed called Reveille. Wake, the silver dusk returning up the beach of darkness brims, and the ship of sunrise burning strands upon the eastern rims. Wake, the vaulted shadow shatters, trampled to the floor it spanned, and the tent of night in tatters straws the sky pavilioned land. Up, lad, up! 'Tis late for lying. Hear the drums of morning play. Hark! The empty highways crying, who'll beyond the hills away? Towns and countries woo together, forelands beacon, belfries call. Never lad that trod on leather lived to feast his heart withal. Up, lad! Throw thews that lie encumber sunlit palates never thrive. Morns abed and daylight slumber were not meant for man alive. Clay lies still, but blood's a rover. Breath's aware that will not keep. Up, lad, when journey's over, there'll be time enough to sleep. Seems appropriate for those of us social distancing today. It's easy to lie abed, and believe me, I'm doing it. But we should also remember to get up and move, for there'll be time enough to sleep when the journey's over. But it's not over yet, so let's keep getting up. Let's see what else we've got here. Uh, Here's a good one. I'm a big fan of W.B. Yeats, William Butler Yeats, wonderful Irish poet. Some would argue the greatest Irish poet. I'm not going to get into that argument. I have a problem with uh, competitive arts. I don't think that it's very useful. But that's a philosophical discussion for another day. For now, let's do. Oh, here we go. Leda and the Swan by William Butler Yeats. A sudden blow, the great wings beating still above the staggering girl, her thighs caressed by the dark webs, her nape caught in his bill. He holds her helpless breast upon his breast. How can those terrified, vague fingers push the feathered glory from her loosening thighs, and how can body, laid in that white rush, but feel the strange heart beating where it lies? A shudder in the loins engenders there the broken wall, the burning roof and tower, and Agamemnon dead. Being so caught up, so mastered by the brute blood of the air, did she put on his knowledge with his power before the indifferent beak could let her drop? So that one's Leda and the Swan by William Butler Yeats. It's about um, Zeus and in the form of a swan and a young woman named Leda. And if you want to know more about that story, it's not terribly pleasant, but you should check it out. Um, let's see here. Let's see. Charlotte Mew, 1869 to 1928, a wonderful poet. who doesn't really get a lot of recognition these days, I don't think. So I think um, let's do a couple of Charlotte Muse. Uh, Here's one. Not for the City by Charlotte Muse. Not for that city of the level sun, its golden streets and glittering gates ablaze, the shadeless, sleepless city of white days, white nights or nights and days that are as one. We weary when all is said, all thought, all done. We strain our eyes beyond the dusk to see what, from the threshold of eternity, we shall step into. No, I think we shun the splendor of that everlasting glare, the clamor of that never-ending song. And if for anything we greatly long, it is for some remote and quiet stair which winds to silence and a space for sleep, too sound for waking and for dreams too deep. That's Charlotte Muse, Not for That City. I know I said that not for the city. I meant not for that city. Let's see, what else do we have here? I don't even know if I've got anyone on. Have I got anyone out there listening, I wonder? Uh, if I do, then tell me hello. Or don't. Whatever. I'm reading these partially for me. I try to remember to read some poetry, but it's hard to do. And so this is giving me a good reason. I hope you're enjoying the listening of it. Let's do another Charlotte Muse, shall we? The Peddler. Lend me a little while the key that locks your heavy heart, and I'll give you back, rarer than books and ribbons and beads bright to see, this little key of dreams out of my pack. The road, the road beyond men's bolted doors, there shall I walk, and you go free of me. For yours lies north across the moors, and mine south to what seas? How if we stopped and let our solemn selves go by, while my gay ghost caught and kissed yours, as ghosts don't do, and by the wayside this forgotten you and I sat, and were 22. Give me the key that locks your tired eyes, and I will lend you this one from my pack, brighter than colored beads and painted books that make men wise. Take it. No, give it back. That's Charlotte Muse, the Peddler. Oh, hi, Kat. Hi, Abigail. Hope you both are having a lovely day and holding up well. Of course, we've got Robert Frost in here, and I did some Frost last time. Frost is always wonderful, but I'm going to skip Mr. Robert right now. I'm trying to give some folks some reading here to some folks that don't often get read. Oh, here's a good one by Edward Thomas. Edward Thomas was a wonderful poet. Died in Flanders, actually, and when he died, Robert Frost wrote to the poet's widow, Helen Thomas, who was ever so completely himself, right up to the verge of destruction, so sure of his thought, so sure of his word. So that's quite an epitaph from Robert Frost. I think probably true, if not entirely complimentary. So here's a poem by Edward Thomas called Rain. Rain, midnight rain, nothing but the wild rain on this bleak hut, and solitude, and me, remembering again that I shall die, and neither hear the rain nor give it thanks for washing me cleaner than I have been since I was born into this solitude. Blessed are the dead that the rain rains upon, but here I pray that none whom once I loved is dying tonight or lying still awake, solitary, listening to the rain, either in pain or thus in sympathy, helpless among the living and the dead, like a cold water among broken reeds, myriads of broken reeds, all still and stiff. like me, who have no love which this wild rain has not dissolved except the love of death, if love it be, for what is perfect and cannot, the tempest tells me, disappoint. That's a sad one, but it's raining out today, so I thought I would do it. You can't always not read the sad ones. I think sometimes the sad ones are the nicest ones, even when we're not sad. Wallace Stevens. Oh, I love Wallace Stevens. Anybody else out there Wallace Stevens fans? I know I am. Here's a change of pace for us. Wallace Stevens, the Emperor of Ice Cream. Call the roller of big cigars, the muscular one, and bid him whip in kitchen cups concuspient curds. Let the wenches dawdle in such dress as they are used to wear, and let the boys bring flowers in last month's newspapers. Let be finale of seam, the only emperor is the emperor of ice cream. Take from the dresser of deal, lacking the 3 glass knobs, that sheet on which she embroidered fantails once, and spread it so as to cover her face. If her horny feet protrude, they come to show how cold she is, and dumb. Let the lamp affix its beam. The only emperor is the emperor of ice cream. Such a beautiful poem. It's fun to read, fun to say, and fun to do. Let's see here. Oh, more Wallace Stevens. Oh, this is such a good one. 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird. 1. Among 20 snowy mountains, the only moving thing was the eye of the blackbird. 2. I was of 3 minds, like a tree, in which there are 3 blackbirds. 3. The blackbird whirled in the autumn winds. It was a small part of the pantomime. 4. A man and a woman are one. A man and a woman and a blackbird are one. 5. I do not know which to prefer, the beauty of inflections or the beauty of innuendos, the blackbird whistling or just after. 6. Icicles filled the long window with barbaric glass. The shadow of the blackbird crossed it to and fro, the mood traced in the shadow, an indecipherable cause. 7. O thin men of Haddam, why do you imagine golden birds? Do you not see how the blackbird walks around the feet of the women about you? 8. I know noble accents and lucid, inescapable rhythms, but I know, too, that the blackbird is involved in what I know. 9. When the blackbird flew out of sight, it marked the edge of one of many circles. 10. At the sight of blackbirds flying in a green light, even the bawds of euphony would cry out sharply. 11. He rode over Connecticut in a glass coach. Once a fear pierced him, in that he mistook the shadow of his equipage for blackbirds. 12. The river is moving. The blackbird must be flying. 13. It was evening all afternoon. It was snowing, and it was going to snow. The blackbird sat in the cedar limbs. I love that one too, Carol. The 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird is such a wonderful, full piece. It makes, at least for me, as someone who writes some poems, despair, because Wallace Stevens was such a master. All right. Oh, William Carlos Williams, I know, is amazing, and was both a medical doctor and a poet. Some folks may not know. So perhaps we can find something nice and appropriate here for our current situation. Um, Here's a good one. One of my favorite William Carlos Williams poems. It's called Landscape with the Fall of Icarus. And part of the reason why I love this one is because I love the Icarus story. And this is a take on the story that I had never considered. And I always appreciate that. William Carlos Williams, Landscape with the Fall of Icarus. According to Bruegel, when Icarus fell, it was spring. A farmer was ploughing his field. The whole pageantry of the year was awake, tingling near the edge of the sea, concerned with itself, sweating in the sun that melted the wings' wax. Unsignificantly off the coast there was a splash, quite unnoticed. This was Icarus drowning. I love that. There's so much there. Let's see. Let's see here. Robinson Jeffers is an interesting poet. He didn't really fit into any poetic period. He's mostly classified into the moderns, which predate the Beats, but he's, to me, Beat-esque, and I don't know. So I'm going to read one of his that I've always loved, but I think, well, I'll leave it to you to decide if he fits somewhere. For the record, in case anyone's interested, the book I'm reading from is just called The Great Modern Poets, and it actually came with a DVD where the poets read their own poems, where they had recordings. So it's really a beautiful piece, and I really enjoyed listening to it. CD, rather, not DVD. Either way, it's Antiquarian. The stars go over the lonely ocean, Robinson Jeffers. Unhappy about some far-off things that are not my affair, wandering along the coast and up the lean ridges, I saw in the evening the stars go over the lonely ocean, and a black-maned wild boar ploughing with his snout on Malpaso Mountain. The old monster snuffled, "Here are sweet roots, fat grubs, slick beetles, and sprouted acorns. The best nation in Europe has fallen, and that is Finland. But the stars go over the lonely ocean." The old black-bristled boar tearing the sod on Malpaso Mountain. "The word's in a bad way, my man, and bound to be worse before it mends. Better lie up in the mountain here 4 or 5 centuries while the stars go over the lonely ocean," said the old father of wild pigs ploughing the fallow on Malpaso Mountain. "Keep clear of the dupes that talk democracy and the dogs that talk revolution. Drunk with talk, liars and believers, I believe in my tusks. Long live freedom and damn the ideologies," said the gamey, black-maned wild boar, tusking the turf on Malpaso Mountain. I like that one. That one, to me, seems very appropriate. Let's see. I'm going to skip over T.S. Eliot. I love Eliot, don't get me wrong, but I am not going to do it much as I love the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock. We're not going to do that. I'm going to end here pretty soon, and before I end, I must read some E. Cummings. Long, one of my favorite poems, poets, I should say. Where should we go? E. Cummings didn't title his poems. He also did not capitalize or punctuate his poems generally. Some punctuation, occasional commas, and that kind of thing. But as a general rule, No capitalization, no titles, because he believed it got in the way of the words and of the poem itself. So I'm not going to force titles on either. But these next couple are from E. E. Cummings. What if a much of a witch of a wind gives the truth to summer's lie, bloodies with dizzying leaves the sun, and yanks immortal stars awry? Blow king to beggar and queen to seem, blow friend to fiend, blow space to time. When skies are hanged and oceans drowned, the single secret will still be man. What if a keen of a lean wind flays screaming hills with sleet and snow, strangles valleys by ropes of thing, and stifles forests in white ago? Blow hope to terror, blow seeing to blind, blow pity to envy and soul to mind. Whose hearts are mountains, roots are trees, it's they shall cry hello to the spring. What if a dawn of a doom of a dream bites this universe in two, peels forever out of its grave, and sprinkles nowhere with me and you? Blow soon to never and never twice. Blow life to isn't. Blow death to was. All nothings only our hugest home, the most who die, the more we live. Oh, that's so cool, Carol. I've never been able to pick one, but I've wanted to do an E. E. Cummings tattoo for 30 years. And I've never been able to pick the one that I want. But if I did, there's a very good chance that it's from this next E. E. Cummings. Pity this busy monster, man unkind. Not. Progress is a comfortable disease. Your victim, death and life safely beyond, plays with the bigness of his littleness. Electrons deify one razor blade into a mountain range. Lenses extend unwish through curving whirlwind till unwish returns on its unself. A world of made is not a world of born. Pity poor flesh and trees, poor stars and stones, but never this fine specimen of hyper-magical ultra-omnipotence. We doctors know a hopeless case if, listen, there's a hell of a good universe next door. Let's go. Oh, I love Howard Pyle. Abigail, thank you for bringing that one out. The Wonder Clock is such a wonderful poem. Um, oh, there's Robert Graves. I'm running out of time, and I want to get at least one more in here. Let's see. I'm going to end here, I think, because no, no. Oh, this is hard to pick. Where should I end? No, I can't end on Ted Hughes. He was a bastard. Um, let's see, Jeffrey Hill, Sylvia Plath. I have to admit, I've never been a big fan of Plath's poetry. Oh, here we go. I'll end with perhaps the greatest poet of the 20th century. Certainly one of my favorites, Seamus Heaney. I don't know if we've got any Heaney fans out here, but let's see. Let's do. Let's do. Let's do the Guttural Muse, Seamus Heaney. Late summer, and at midnight, I smelt the heat of the day. At my window over the hotel car park, I breathed the muddied night airs off the lake and watched a young crowd leave the discotheque. Their voices rose up thick and comforting, as oily bubbles the feeding tench set up that evening at dusk. The slimy tench once called the doctor fish, because his slime was said to heal the wounds of fish that touched it. A girl in a white dress was being courted out among the cars. As her voice swarmed and puddled into laughs, I felt like some old pike, all badged with sores, wanting to swim in touch with soft-mouthed life. I lost my camera there for a second, but I feel like it's possible that we're all feeling like some old pike, all badged with sores, wanting to swim in touch with soft-mouthed life. So I hope we're all finding ways to do that. I don't know if I want to go out there, though. Let's see. No, Ted, we're not reading you. Not today. No. I want to read Ginsberg, is really what I want to do, but they've only got a section from Kaddish in here, or Kaddish in here, and it's long, and I'm not going to do it right now. Let's see. No. Wish there was some Langston Hughes in here. I could really feel some Langston Hughes. But I don't think there is in this particular book, which to me says we're missing a few great modern poets, but we're going to leave that alone for now. Here we go. Here's one. Laura Riding. Laura Riding is a poet I don't actually know a lot about, but she was born in New York in 1901, went to Cornell. There's some great biographical information in here. This is interesting. In 1939, she abandoned poetry, explaining her decision at length and amplifying her explanation in the years that followed. She devoted her remaining half-century to rational meaning, a new foundation for the definition of words. Interesting. She insisted on finding truth instead of writing it. That's really interesting. All right, here we go. One last one now. I promise this will be it. Although I'm sure I'll come back again. I'm having fun with these. Laura Riding, The Troubles of a Book. The trouble of a book is first to be no thoughts to nobody, then to lie as long unwritten as it will lie unread, then to build word for word an author and occupy his head until the head declares vacancy to make full publication of running empty. The trouble of a book is secondly to keep awake and ready and listening like an innkeeper, not wishing for a guest, torn between hope of no rest and hope of rest. Uncertainly the pages doze and blink open to passing fingers with landlord's smile, then close. The trouble of a book is thirdly to speak its sermon, then look the other way, arouse commotion in the margin where tongue meets the eye, but claim no experience of panic, no complicity in the outcry. The ordeal of a book is to give no hint of ordeal, to be flat and witless of the upright sense of print. The trouble of a book is chiefly to be nothing but book outwardly, to wear binding like binding, bury itself in book death, yet to feel all but book, to breathe live words, yet with the breath of letters, to address liveliness in reading eyes, be answered with letters and bookishness. That's good. That's really good. That's really good. I really liked that one. I don't remember reading that one before. I really, really enjoyed that. Um, Chelsea, you haven't missed any Shakespeare. I haven't done any. Uh, oh, hi, Jameson. My nephew Jameson is apparently watching. I haven't done any Shakespeare yet on either of these reads. There's a lot of folks out there doing Shakespeare, including Sir Patrick Stewart, reading some Shakespeare recently. I've posted a couple of videos. You'll find them on my page, but those are wonderful, as has our very good friend, um, our friendly neighborhood Shakespeare. Shakespeare approves. You can find him on the Facebooks and the Instas and the YouTubes, and you should. He's wonderful. Um, but as a fellow Shakespeare lover, I will very likely do some Shakespeare, maybe some sonnets, certainly a speech or two. Um, I've been very much thinking about the to be or not to be speech from Hamlet in context of what's going on now. I feel like there's an interpretation there that's more hopeful than the in context interpretation that's typically taken. So maybe I'll think about that a little bit. Thank you, Chelsea. I appreciate it. I love a good Poe reading. Maybe I'll do Annabelle Lee in a future one. I did The Raven last time, and I love Annabelle Lee. Um, but I think that's enough for now. We're at 30 odd minutes, and I think I'm going to wrap it up for here. But remember, we love you. I love you, and don't forget to wash your hands. And I hope you're all social distancing, and I hope you're all staying as sane as you can. Feel free to send me a message anytime. I'm happy to chat, and I'll come back on and do another one of these if folks like it, which I hope folks do. Um, I love you guys. Take care of yourselves, and keep reading poetry maybe.